In this video, we're going to be replacing the shock absorber on a VW Polo 9N. But first, some words from the boss.
This car is broken. It's a bit broken.
You see?
It was a bit broken. That was a bit broken.
Is it?
Yeah.
Inspection over from the boss, and now it's time to talk about tools. Now, we're going to need a few basic tools. Get yourself a decent trolley jack. Got this one from Sealy. Absolutely excellent. And then after that, we're going to need a half decent socket set with loads of sizes. Should have one of those by now if you're watching these channels. And axle stands. Get some high quality axle stands. Minimum of 2 ton. Then you're going to need this spline tool. This is important in this particular car. You will need it. That's a special one. And this is really helpful, this hub splitter. This just opens up the hub, which I'm going to show you later on in the video. So make sure you get one of those. Now, always remember you can go to my website, www.bumpier and order things for your cars and other little bits and pieces and accessories. We've got some steering wheel covers. We've got electrical things that are shown in the video. And if you don't want to go there, you can come to the website. The link in the description where I should list all of the stuff you can click and find what you want. So now let's get on to fixing the car. So today I'm listening to the audiobook Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. Excellent audiobook, strongly advised, or recommended I should say. So let's start by the simple stuff, just by removing the front wheel. Now you got to follow the basics, the safety basics of lifting up a car, jacking it up, putting the axle stand underneath. Now it's always advisable to slightly crack the nuts on the wheel before you lift it up, because you don't want to be shaking it off the axle stand when it's up. I've got my impact here. It's just undoing it. It's a good impact actually. It's a DeWalt, bought it a little while ago. Money well spent. So once you've removed the wheel, you slide it under the car just as a secondary safety precaution. And here we are looking at the suspension unit itself, the shock absorber, and just assessing the things that have to be removed off it to make it a little bit easier for us to replace it. So once you've done that, you want to lubricate all of the areas that are going to be sticky or could have corrosion on it. So as you can see, I am doing the track, the drop link, I'm doing the hub, and anywhere where it could have rusted. And it's just about slowly taking off things to give yourself as much access as possible, so when you're removing it you won't have any problems. So we're just removing the split clip from the brake hose and freeing up all of the things that are attached to the shock absorber itself. It's just due diligence, take your time, you don't want to break anything under here. Just make sure you remember how everything goes back. So now with my 18mm ratchet and my Torx bit, I'm just going to undo the drop link. Now these rust quite a bit, so you know, once again the lubrication and the penetrating oil is going to really help you out. Make sure you keep the nuts off this. I'm just wiggling it there, you can see it's far too loose. I end up replacing those, but that'll be another video. Once again, you can't spray enough penetrating oil, to be fair, because it just gives you a little bit of a chance, because these are notoriously difficult to remove. So here's that spline tool. Like I said before, it's very unusual really. It's only on this car that I've actually had experience using a spline tool. And then with my 18mm socket, I just buzz it off. Came off nicely. Don't try and use a Torx, it will round out the internals of the bolt. Make sure you use the correct tool. So get that spline tool and make sure you use it. So now I'm just giving you a better angle of what we're going to do, and this is the part when we actually use the hub splitter and we put it up in the gap behind the suspension shock absorber itself and do a 90-degree turn where it locks and spreads the clamp that's holding the shock absorber itself in. And it's just a matter of giving it some light knocks. I'm not even hitting it hard, so that shows how effective that hub splitter is and how much extra work it alleviates. Because when it's got a tighter grip, you do have to hit it harder, and it's just a lot more hassle all round. Step on it, comes off, and now we can start to remove it from underneath the bonnet. Now this is held on by 3 13mm nuts. So just, you know, prepare as you got to do. You can see what I'm doing here. All really simple stuff. Self-explanatory stuff. Now you don't want to undo it fully because you want to be able to loosen it when you've got your hand under it so it doesn't drop by itself. But once you've done that, you can just wiggle it out. Look at that, very easy, simple stuff. Excellent. Now here's a better view of how that hub splitter works. As you can see, that split in the back of the hub itself, and that tool's just in there, spreading it a little bit wider so it's easier to remove the actual shock absorber itself, the leg itself. I've had hassle with these before where you're knocking them and you're beating them and it really just takes forever. So that is a really fantastic tool, and it's really cheap, and it just makes your life a lot easier. So here's the shock absorber. I'm not showing the whole video of the shock absorber, me replacing it. If you want to see that video, you can leave a link in the description. But it's pretty simple, self-explanatory, and yeah, just really easy. But we replaced the shock absorber because the spring was still good, the top mount was still good. So I'm a person who would rather repair than replace. I know that's not the norm nowadays, but if it's good, I don't tend to get rid of it. So here's the new shock absorber refitted with all the components on it to reattach to the car. And it's just a matter of tediously going through the things you need to go through, putting the nuts on the top, securing it. You don't have to tighten it up too much, but you just make sure it's secure. Hand ratchet. That hand ratchet tool is absolutely sensational. It's one of the best tools I've got. And like I said, this whole part here is just reversal of removal. But just be diligent with what you're doing. Make sure everything goes back properly. The back of that shock absorber has almost like a guide pin, which you need to make sure slits all the way through and gets down to the bottom. At this stage, you can still use the hub splitter tool if it makes life easier. But yeah, it's just a reversal, and just be diligent with what you're doing because this is very dangerous parts if you don't do it right. So we're tightening up the hub bolt now. Yeah, tighten up really good. Make sure that's on. And we're just hitting these to torque as well. Make sure you get, I mean, if you intend doing a lot on your car, get a torque wrench because it just takes out the guesswork out of it. You don't have to use experience because you've actually got the actual knowledge of what needs to be done. So we're putting back on the wheel. All simple stuff, realizing it's bald on one of the corners. And these are so light and nice, you just put them up. Now a little tip I would say is you make sure you put all the nuts in first, or the 4 normal studs, and then put the locking wheel nut at the very end while the car's on the floor. You don't really want to over tighten the locking wheel nuts because they're generally made of a lower quality material. So you want to take your time. Here we are with the torque wrench, all torquing it up to spec. Check your car and make sure it's and get the right spec for your car, for the right wheels, because everyone's got slightly different versions. So yeah, get the right one for your wheels. So here you're going to see me just doing the locking wheel nut, which is made of a funny alloy. I'm not really a fan of this, but it's what came with the car. And there you go, car all done, ready to go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all the rest of the good stuff.